The universe does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are, to what you embody, to what you expect without question. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, "Faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly." This is the secret of acting as if. To act as if is not to fake, not to pretend in emptiness, but to align with the truth that already exists in the unseen. When you act as if you are rich, heaven hears your faith and mirrors it back into your reality. Think about it. Every blessing you are waiting for already exists in spirit. There is no lack in the divine. There is only supply, waiting to flow into the channel that is prepared to receive it. Acting as if is preparation. It is clearing space for the blessing before it arrives. It is setting the table before the feast is served. It is putting on the garment of abundance before the wealth walks through the door. Beloved, you must understand this. The law of life is not, see it, then believe it. The law is, believe it, then see it. Spirit asks you to step into the vibration of what you desire before it manifests in form. That is why acting as if is so powerful. When you carry yourself as though wealth is already yours, you are not lying, you are prophesying. You are declaring to the universe, I know it is done, I know it belongs to me, I know it will appear in perfect ways. Some may laugh at this. Some may say, but I do not have the money, how can I act as if? Beloved, do not confuse acting as if with empty pretense. This is not about buying luxuries you cannot afford. It is not about debt or show. It is not about impressing others. It is about shifting your spirit into alignment with divine law. To act as if is to live in faith, not fear. It is to carry dignity in your walk, gratitude in your words, confidence in your posture, and expectancy in your prayers. When you speak, do you speak as though you are always in lack, always waiting, always begging? Or do you speak as though you are already supplied, already provided for, already rich in spirit? Florence Scovel Shinn reminded us, the invisible forces are ever working for man who is always pulling the strings himself, though he does not know it. Your words pull the strings. Your actions pull the strings. Your attitude pulls the strings. And what you act out in faith becomes what you live out in reality. Beloved, the universe is like a mirror. If you walk in fear, it reflects fear. If you walk in scarcity, it reflects scarcity. But if you walk in faith, it reflects abundance. If you carry yourself as though you are already wealthy, already supplied, already established, the mirror of life cannot help but reflect it back. This is not theory, it is law. And so I ask you, how are you acting today? Are you moving through life as a beggar or as a receiver? Are you speaking as one who doubts or as one who decrees? Are you waiting for the blessing to appear before you believe? Or are you bold enough to act as if you already hold it in your hand? Beloved, Spirit honors boldness. Spirit honors expectancy. Spirit honors those who dare to live as though the promise is already fulfilled. When you act as if, you collapse the gap between the unseen and the seen. You shorten the distance between the prayer and the answer. You demonstrate faith so strong that the universe must respond. So hear me today. Pretending in ego leads only to frustration. But acting as if in faith transforms everything. The moment you shift your posture, your words, your mindset into wealth consciousness, you begin to magnetize the opportunities, the resources, the ideas, and the people that carry your blessing. Spirit has already prepared your abundance, but it is your job to act as if you are ready to receive it. This, beloved, is the open door. This is the key to attracting wealth. Not waiting in worry, not begging in fear, but acting as if it is already yours. For the truth is sure, what you dare to embody in faith, the universe must deliver in form. Beloved, the law of assumption is the foundation of acting as if. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. This is the very heartbeat of manifestation. The universe does not give you what you wish for. It gives you what you assume to be true. Assumption is stronger than hope, stronger than doubt, stronger even than effort. Assumption is faith dressed in certainty. It is living as though the unseen blessing is already here, and because you live as if it is, it cannot help but appear. When you act as if, you are practicing the law of assumption in motion. You assume wealth belongs to you, so you carry yourself with gratitude instead of desperation. You assume supply is always flowing, so you speak as though you are never lacking. You assume doors are open, so you walk with confidence instead of hesitation. This is not arrogance. It is agreement with divine law. Beloved, hear this: what you assume becomes your reality because assumption is a vibration. When you assume poverty, you vibrate scarcity, and scarcity finds you. When you assume delay, you vibrate postponement, and opportunities slip away. But when you assume wealth, you vibrate abundance, and abundance is drawn to you. The universe responds not to your empty words, but to the assumption behind them. This is why Florence taught, faith never weeps or wrings its hands. It rejoices and gives thanks because it knows it has already received. That is assumption. It is not begging for wealth. It is behaving as though wealth is inevitable. It is not chasing opportunities. It is attracting them with a posture that says, I am already supplied. Beloved, think of it this way. A king does not beg for his crown. He assumes it belongs to him and acts accordingly. He walks with authority, he speaks with confidence, he makes decisions from a place of abundance. That assumption shapes his world, and so it must be with you. You must assume the role of abundance long before the evidence shows up. You must act as if the crown is already on your head, and the universe will eventually place it there. The law of assumption is also the law of preparation. When you assume your blessing, you prepare for it. You do not say, one day I will be rich, and then I will be generous. You say, because I know I am wealthy in spirit, I can give with joy now. You do not say, when the opportunity comes, I will rise. You say, because I know my path is aligned, I will rise today. Assumption prepares the soil for the harvest. Beloved, the world often mocks assumption. It calls it pretending, it calls it fantasy, it calls it foolishness. But the world does not know divine law. What the world calls foolish, spirit calls faith. Acting as if is not self-deception. It is self-prophecy. You are speaking your world into existence by the assumptions you carry within. And do not confuse assumption with wishing. Wishing is weak, assumption is strong. Wishing says, I hope it happens. Assumption says, it is already done. Wishing keeps you in delay. Assumption brings you into manifestation. Spirit responds to certainty, not to hesitation. Beloved, this is why many pray and see no results. Their words are strong, but their assumptions are weak. They declare abundance but assume lack. They pray for wealth but carry themselves as though they are cursed. Spirit cannot deliver when assumption contradicts decree. But when your assumption and your word align, manifestation must appear. So I tell you today, align your assumption with your desire. Assume wealth belongs to you. Assume doors are already open. Assume supply is already flowing, and then act as if. For the law is sure: what you assume, you attract. And what you act out in faith, you will live out in form. Beloved, the greatest secret of acting as if is this: it shifts your identity. And when your identity changes, your entire life changes with it. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, man can only have what he sees himself receiving. This is not simply about wishing for wealth. It is about becoming the person who knows wealth belongs to them. Acting as if is not about the outer show. It is about the inner shift. It is not about dressing in clothes you cannot afford or flashing riches to impress others. That is vanity, and vanity collapses. Acting as if is about stepping into a higher identity, one that carries dignity, gratitude, confidence, and expectancy. It is not about deceiving the world. It is about convincing your spirit. Beloved, hear this: you cannot attract wealth while holding on to the identity of poverty. You cannot magnetize abundance while seeing yourself as unworthy. Spirit will not pour treasure into a vessel that refuses to believe it deserves it. The law requires that you first shift within, and then the outer world mirrors the change. When you act as if you are already rich, you are not pretending. You are rehearsing your future. You are telling your subconscious mind, this is who I am now. And once your mind believes it, your actions align, your vibration rises, and opportunities gravitate toward you. The universe always rearranges itself to match identity. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that words and imagination shape destiny. Identity is simply imagination repeated until it becomes truth. If you imagine yourself poor, you will speak poor, act poor, and live poor. But if you imagine yourself rich, rich in faith, rich in peace, rich in provision, you will carry yourself with the grace of abundance. And soon, abundance will have no choice but to meet you. Beloved, this is why Scripture declares, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Your identity is the magnet of your reality. The world outside is only a mirror of the world you carry inside. If you see yourself small, your world shrinks. If you see yourself cursed, your world collapses. But if you see yourself as rich, supplied, and favored, then everything around you must rise to that picture. Acting as if is the key to this shift. When you walk into a room with confidence, when you speak with the authority of one who knows they are blessed, when you make decisions from faith instead of fear, you are training your identity to match wealth. Beloved, wealth is not a number in the bank. It is an identity in the soul, and when you carry that identity, the numbers will follow. Think of a seed planted in the soil. At first, there is no evidence above ground. But in the unseen, roots are forming, growth is happening. Acting as if is like watering that seed. Every step you take as though the blessing is already here nourishes the identity that will produce the harvest. And just as surely as a seed must grow, your identity must produce its fruit. Beloved, many fail because they wait to see wealth before shifting their identity. They wait to feel worthy until the blessing appears. But divine law does not work this way. The shift must come first. The acting as if must come first. The identity must rise first, and then the outer world follows like a shadow. So I ask you, beloved, who are you acting as today? Are you acting as one who is cursed, who is small, who is always waiting? Or are you acting as one who is rich in spirit, rich in faith, rich in provision? Spirit is watching your identity, not your circumstances. And when your identity matches abundance, abundance will manifest without delay. Beloved, say it now with me, I shift my identity. I act as if I am already rich. I am worthy of abundance. I am aligned with supply. I walk in wealth. I speak in faith. I live in gratitude. When you decree this daily, you anchor the new identity. And soon, the world will have no choice but to mirror it back to you. Beloved, acting as if is not about empty show. It is not about faking for approval or drowning yourself in debt to look wealthy. That is pretense, and pretense collapses under its own weight. Acting as if is about alignment. It is about living now in the vibration of abundance before it appears in form. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, "Gratitude is the law of increase, and complaint is the law of decrease." The moment you live in gratitude, you are already acting as if wealth belongs to you. So how can you practice this in your daily life? Let us make it plain. First, act as if through gratitude. Wealthy souls are grateful souls. They bless what they have, no matter how small, and it multiplies. If you have a single dollar, treat it as though it were 1,000. Bless it, thank Spirit for it, declare that it will grow under grace. When you open your wallet, do not sigh in lack. Speak in abundance. This money is blessed. It multiplies as it moves. I am always supplied. Gratitude is the seed that multiplies supply. Second, act as if through your words. Beloved, wealthy souls speak differently. They do not complain. They do not curse their circumstances. They do not rehearse fear. They speak expectancy, confidence, and blessing. Florence reminded us that your word is your wand. So ask yourself, are your words creating lack, or are they creating wealth? Begin to replace, "I can't afford it," with, "It is not mine to buy today, but the supply is on its way." Replace, "I am broke," with, "I am rich in spirit, and provision always arrives." Your tongue can block wealth, or it can open the floodgates. Choose wisely. Third, act as if through your posture. Wealth is not only heard in your words, it is seen in your walk. Stand tall, beloved. Walk with confidence. Carry yourself with dignity, no matter what is in your bank account. The universe responds to posture. A bowed head attracts burden, a lifted head attracts opportunity. Begin to act as if Spirit has already placed a crown upon your head, for in truth, it has. Act as if through small acts of generosity. Poverty clings, wealth releases. To give, even in small amounts, is to declare, "I trust in infinite supply." Buy someone a coffee, bless a stranger, give a little more than expected. Each act of generosity is a rehearsal of abundance. It proves to spirit that you know supply flows through you, not just to you. Fifth, act as if through preparation. Beloved, if you truly believed wealth was on its way, how would you prepare? Would you open a savings account? Would you study investing? Would you organize your finances? Would you declutter your space to welcome new things? Preparation is faith in action. It says to heaven, I know it is coming, and I am ready. The universe cannot pour wealth into a vessel that is unprepared. Finally, act as if through expectancy. Live each day as though the blessing could arrive today. Do not drag your feet as one waiting forever. Walk with the energy of one who expects miracles at any moment. When opportunities appear, be quick to recognize them. When ideas come, write them down. When doors open, walk through without hesitation. Expectancy attracts acceleration. Beloved, these practices are not games. They are decrees in action. Every time you bless your money, every time you change your words, every time you walk with dignity, every time you give, every time you prepare, every time you expect, you are writing your wealth into reality. Spirit sees, Spirit responds, Spirit delivers. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, man must prepare for the thing he has asked for, when there isn't the slightest sign of it in sight. That is the essence of acting as if. When you practice these daily, you create a vibration so strong that wealth cannot resist you. So begin today, beloved. Act as if, walk as if, speak as if, give as if, prepare as if, expect as if, and soon you will live not in acting but in reality, for Spirit will deliver exactly what you dared to embody. Beloved, there is a holy difference between pretense and true faith. Many confuse the two, and because of it, they block their own blessing. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. Faith acts as if from a place of certainty, while pretense acts from a place of fear. One attracts wealth, the other repels it. Let us make it plain. Pretense is rooted in ego. It seeks to impress others, to prove something, to cover inner doubt with outer display. It borrows to look wealthy. It spends recklessly to appear important. It fakes abundance without believing abundance truly belongs to it. Pretense is an empty shell, and empty shells eventually crack. Spirit cannot bless pretense, for it is not aligned with truth. Faith, however, is rooted in spirit. It does not need to prove anything to anyone. It does not need to chase recognition. Faith acts as if because it knows. It knows supply is infinite. It knows the universe mirrors identity. It knows wealth is already prepared. When you act as if from faith, you are not trying to convince the world. You are aligning your vibration with divine law. That is why it works. Beloved, the danger of pretense is that it creates debt, exhaustion, and disappointment. It is the young man who buys clothes he cannot afford to look successful, but beneath the surface, his spirit trembles in fear of lack. It is the woman who forces luxury she has not yet aligned with, hoping attention will cover insecurity. Pretense may shine for a moment, but it soon fades, leaving emptiness behind. Florence taught that whatever is rooted in fear must collapse, but whatever is rooted in faith must grow. Pretense is fear. It fears being seen as small, being seen as unworthy, being seen as lacking. Faith is boldness. It knows its worth is already secure, its supply already certain, its abundance already assured. Faith needs no performance, only alignment. Beloved, when you act as if, examine your spirit. Are you doing it to prove, or are you doing it to align? Are you showing off to the world, or are you showing faith to spirit? Are you moving in debt and anxiety, or are you moving in gratitude and expectancy? The motive determines the outcome. And here is the truth: spirit cannot be mocked. The vibration you carry reveals whether it is pretense or faith. If your acting as if feels heavy, fearful, anxious, it is pretense, and it will fail. But if it feels light, joyful, grateful, it is faith, and it will manifest. The universe knows the difference. Beloved, remember this always: true faith is quiet. It does not scream for validation. It does not rush to prove. It carries peace. It walks with certainty. It speaks with confidence. When you act as if from faith, others may not even notice, but heaven does, and heaven rewards. So do not burden yourself with performance. Do not pretend for approval. Do not borrow to impress. That is counterfeit wealth, and it invites collapse. Instead, embody wealth in spirit. Walk tall, speak blessings, bless your money, give freely, prepare your space, live in expectancy. These are acts of faith, not pretense. And faith, beloved, never fails. Florence Scovel Shinn declared, "There is a supply for every demand. Pretense demands without faith, and so it receives nothing. Faith acts as if supply is already flowing, and so it receives in abundance." This is the difference. Beloved, let your acting as if be pure, rooted in spirit, grounded in gratitude. For the universe does not respond to the show. It responds to the substance. It does not reward pretense. It rewards faith. And when you act as if from faith, wealth will not only find you, it will remain. Beloved, we have uncovered the secret of acting as if, not as empty pretense, but as living faith. We have seen that assumption shapes reality, that identity attracts destiny, that daily practices align you with wealth, and that faith, not fear, must guide your actions. Now it is time to seal this truth with decree. Place your hand upon your heart and speak with authority. I act as if abundance is already mine. I embody wealth in spirit, and therefore wealth flows to me in form. I carry myself with dignity, gratitude, and faith, for I know supply is infinite and always available to me. Say it again, stronger this time. I do not pretend to impress, I embody to align. I live as though every prayer is already answered, every need is already met, every door is already open. I walk by faith, not by sight, and I attract wealth under grace and in perfect ways. Beloved, when you decree these words, you collapse the gap between the unseen and the seen. You tell the universe who you are, and the universe must respond. For spirit mirrors faith, and what you dare to embody, you will inevitably experience. So walk forward today not as one waiting, but as one receiving. Act as if you are already rich, not in arrogance, but in certainty. Act as if your supply is secure, not in pretense, but in faith. Act as if spirit has already poured out the blessing, for in truth it has. Beloved, declare it daily, live it boldly, and you will see it surely. Pretending in fear collapses, but acting in faith attracts wealth without end. And so it is.